Are you thinking about making a move in or to Northern Kentucky? Do you want more house and less taxes and maybe an overall better lifestyle? Today, we're going to dive into the true cost of living in this region and why your money may just go further than you think. Let's break this down starting at a very high level. There's an index score out there, a cost of living index, and this helps us understand a relative benchmark to the rest of the nation. A score of 100 is average. So if you're under 100, you're more affordable, cheaper, however you want to phrase that. And if you're over, you're more expensive, maybe higher end, depends on the region. Kentucky coming in at 89.5 essentially means it is 10%-ish more affordable, less expensive than the average region in the United States. One of the main reasons why Northern Kentucky is a little bit more affordable as a whole than the rest of the United States is the cost of housing, be it rentals or purchases. It follows a similar trend. Housing specifically is really interesting because when you look at the three counties in Northern Kentucky, you've got Boone, Kenton, and Campbell. Kenton County comes in at an average sale price around $300,000 in 2025. Campbell County is around 330 and Boone County is around 370. So for 350, let's say, you can find your average home. This is pretty affordable relative to other regions in the United States. What that means is you can get a really great starter home from as low as 250 to as high as 350. And if you need a little bit more space, more bedrooms, you work from home, you need an office, you can still get all of that for under 400,000. You might be asking yourself, okay, well, if I want to spend $200,000 or $250,000, how much is that really going to get me? What am I getting myself into? Well, one of your first options, if you're in that price point, is a condo. A condo can be a two-bed or a two-bed plus an office or a study maybe, and you really can get those around that $250,000 to $270,000 price point in pretty good condition. You can find smaller ones that are maybe drop the office and have a two-bed, two-bath, or two-bed, one and a half bath, and be closer to that 200,000. But if your budget is at 200 to 250-ish, that may be a really good option for you. The one thing you should definitely watch out for are HOA fees. Depending on the community, those HOA fees can sneak up on you. Some of them can be around 100, usually in the low hundreds, and they can quickly creep up into the 200, 250 plus per month. So you may be saving on your mortgage, but you're going to make up for it in your HOA. Watch out for those. The advantage, though, is these HOA fees are going to come with some convenient benefits like yard care, sometimes pools, gyms, walking paths, basic maintenance, anything on the outside of these buildings, you're not going to have to worry about. So it's nice if you have a busy life, if you're constantly on the go, you work a lot, you play a lot, whatever it is, but you don't want to be worrying about your grass and feeding it and weeding and all those things. You can walk away from that with an HOA fee, which often can offset costs you'd be spending anyway on a single family home. Now, if you're saying to yourself, okay, I need something that is in the single family realm that gives me a little bit more space, I need like 3 beds, 1.5 to 2.5 baths, that's going to put you in the $250,000 to $350,000 price point, which still can get you a pretty nice property at that price point that meets those needs. If you need more space, you need to add a 4th bedroom or more, or you want a larger basement, whether it's finished or unfinished, then that's going to push you maybe up toward the $500,000 to $600,000 price point. If you're needing that 5th bedroom and maybe a 3-car, that's going to maybe push you into that $700,000 to $800,000 price point. But all of these price points and sizes are relatively more affordable than the national average. What gets really exciting is when you start comparing what $1 million will get you in expensive markets to what $1 million will get you in Northern Kentucky. I will tell you this, a $1 million home here still feels like $1 million home. In other areas, a $1 million home feels like you're getting ripped off. Now, if you are not wanting to buy a home because you don't want to deal with the maintenance or the additional expenses and risk that comes with home ownership, or you don't know if you're going to be here for a very long time and you need something cheaper and shorter term, you can still get a decent 2-bedroom, 1 to 2 bath apartment or condo as a rental. Those prices really are going to vary a lot more because it depends on where the rental is, how nice it is, if it's older and run down, or if it's newer and shiny and clean. That's obviously going to play a big factor into this. But if you get something that's decent, that's comfortable, that's nice, that's reasonable, a 2-bed, 1 to 2 bath rental is probably going to be anywhere from $1,600 a month on an apartment to $2,300, $2,400 a month on a smaller single family or paired patio or condo. If you're on the fence of whether or not to rent or buy, that's a really interesting conversation to dive into that we can have separately. But DM me if you want to find out more information about which path may be smarter for you. Buying is not for everybody, renting is not for everybody. So if you're on the fence, let's talk. Another key driver for why our index score is lower than other areas are taxes. This is where Kentucky wins big. Even if you're just comparing it to the other side of the river in Ohio, Kentucky taxes are significantly cheaper. That has a big impact on your mortgage payment when you consider your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. If the overall cost of house is cheaper, then it's cheaper to insure and taxes are lower, and that drives that payment down even more. So this is a very important point. The current state individual income tax rate is 4%. Now, in 2026, starting January 1st, that's going to drop to 3.5%. There are all kinds of rumors that have suggested that the state of Kentucky is working toward a zero income tax state. That would be amazing. However, that would eliminate 41% of last year's tax revenue that the state of Kentucky collected. So that might be a little bit harder of a battle to fight than we think, and there definitely is some pushback on that. Will it go away entirely and get down to zero like a few other states? I don't know. It definitely is slotted to continue to drop, though, making it more affordable than it already is today to live in Kentucky. The second tax is property tax. That's also an exciting point. Kentucky's current effective property tax rate is 0.8%, so 0.008. Now, if you're looking at a $500,000 house, what that means is your property taxes annually will be around $4,000. One tax that you should know about that not many other states actually have is the vehicle tax. Upon initial registration, whether you're buying it or moving to the area, there's a 6% tax fee for the initial registration. After the initial registration 6%, the reoccurring annual tax is 45 cents per $100 of the vehicle's value. If it's a historic vehicle, that's a little bit lower. Historic motor vehicles come in at 25 cents per $100 of value. If cars are what you like to splurge on, then be aware that that is going to impact your overall gross taxes paid every year. The other tax to keep an eye on is sales tax. The state of Kentucky has a flat 6% sales tax with no other local sales taxes. Now, I am not your accountant, I am not your bookkeeper, I'm not your tax advisor, I am not a legal tax advisor. So please make sure you do your homework. If these are very important things, reach out to a local tax advisor or accountant, and they can really walk you through everything that you need to consider when it comes to taxes. Another major concern, especially for those that are coming from very hot regions, are utilities. What are utilities like in Northern Kentucky? Depending on the age, how well insulated, the location, and even how extreme the winters and summers are, is going to impact this. But the average 2,000 square foot home in our region is probably going to cost you between $150 and $250 a month for all of your utilities, your standard utilities, gas, water, electric, sewer, that kind of stuff. One really nice thing about this region is fiber optics is pretty readily accessible to almost all neighborhoods at this point in the Northern Kentucky region. The two major service providers for internet services in the Northern Kentucky region are Alta Fiber and Spectrum. Here's a hack. If you call them annually, you can actually renew those promotions. So watch your internet bills, because if you're paying $65 a month on a 12-month promotion and it jumps up to 110 or 115 all of a sudden, call them, get on the phone, and tell them, hey, what the heck happened? Why did it go up? Can you put me back on the promotional rate? And they'll say, yes, actually, this year's promo is $70. So you'll see that bill come down from 110 or 115 to 70 for the next 12 months. Then just put it on your calendar and make it a habit every year. Just call them, renew that annual promotion. I measure everything in Chipotle burritos. $50 a year is 5 solid Chipotle burritos. Over 10 years, that's a lot of burritos. So definitely worth making that call and keeping that on your radar. Groceries, there's a lot of competition. Kroger really dominates around here. There are a decent amount of Costco's. If you like buying bulk, you love your Costco memberships and your $1.50 hot dogs, go for it. We've got plenty of Walmarts, Myers, Aldi's. Publix is now making a pretty hard push to get into the region, so that's going to increase competition. That's great for us as consumers because we can price shop a little bit more. There is already an open operating Publix in Union, and soon there will be more in Florence, Cold Spring, Hebron, and Independence. So more competition, the merrier. That's only going to help our pricing. If you enjoy going to local markets, farmers markets, things like that, there are quite a few sprinkled throughout. So you can go try and get the organic, healthy, locally grown and support your local farmers at these farmers markets. I have a personal love for two things. One is local honey. I am a sucker for local honey. I can drink it by the container. And the second is local beef. I love locally raised, organic, grass-fed beef. And there are plenty of suppliers. If that's your thing, you can get in and get a quarter of a cow or half a cow every year and have really good, clean, lean, and significantly cheaper red meat. I know we talked about the car tax that helps maintain the roads. The good news is we don't have tolls. Tolls really don't exist around here. So you're not paying extra to go across the bridge to get into Ohio. That keeps things a little bit cheaper and more affordable for commuters. If you are commuting downtown, one thing you may want to budget for or look into are parking passes. Often these parking passes can range from $60 a month to $120 a month, and most businesses are going to have some sort of a corporate discount as their benefits package. You can reach out to them and maybe even get it a little bit cheaper. And gas, that goes crazy all the time. But our area generally floats between $3 and $3.50 a gallon. If you have an electric vehicle and gas is not really a concern to you, there are over a dozen public charging stations throughout this northern Kentucky region. So within just a few miles, you'll constantly have another charging station. So that's there as well. Want to run exact numbers of what it would look like to rent or buy, depending on your different price point, budget, and needs? Reach out, drop us a DM. In the meantime, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell to get notifications of future updates of what Northern Kentucky might look like for you.